here's the busy street of Shibuya. A lot of visual noise, high contrast and bold color scheme all over the street. If you have been to Tokyo or Japan, we often come across these kinds of infrastructure details that has a lot of typographies that takes up negative space. But actually, Japanese people or travelers reading these kind of sites, they still can know where to go and which direction to follow. The more you walk, and the more relevant information going to be presented to you. In major transportation hubs or airports, the information is usually very clear, color-coded, and simplified without overloading a user with too much information. I know the typography can be can be painful for non-Japanese people to read. However, I would love to introduce to you the concept of progressive disclosure. According to Interaction Design Foundation, progressive disclosure is an interaction design pattern that sequences information and actions across several streams. For example, we have like an onboarding screen of showing the users step-by-step guidance, how to sign up, how to use the app. The purpose of this interaction is to lower the chances that users will feel overwhelmed by what they encounter. It took me a while to understand this concept. And also, Japan is a heavily instructed society. You can see from the this actually very fun for me to read on the time. It tell me a lot about the area that I'm at actually. So many big design companies in Tokyo or Japan, they taking a lot of big like public design projects. One important takeaway from these kinds of observation for me is that Japanese people, they are used to consuming a lot of information without negative space, and they are tolerant with heavy amount of information and visuality as well. Here's a fun example of Stockholm's train station. Empty, very appropriate in this climate. I haven't used the train a lot since I moved here actually. And this is Tokyo. A lot of navigational aids here. I can translate this to you. This is, it has some English text too, sorry. This is like where to board for women only car, and different kinds of manners that you should follow inside the train. And even the floor is like the yellow tiles here in different material than the rest of the floor. I believe this is useful for Japanese with or anyone with visual impairment or blindness. Let's talk about layout and typography. This took me years to learn. And here is a Japanese poster for one of the biggest Japanese department store in Tokyo, Hikarie. I think it's beautiful, but some people can see it can say that, oh, not much white space. What is all about? I don't know where or what to read. So the typography in a lot of Asian markets, Japan, China, Korea, it's tricky because these kind of characters, we don't have a lot of lowercase and uppercase. Italic font is not recommended, and no space between different characters. And also Japanese website, which I'm going to show you later, they use like an obnoxious amount of text. So it's really important for me to know how to make a good layout and how to use both colors and images in order to group it into one element to differentiate and prioritize content. I still think this is a beautiful poster. And such experience also like it is another example of layout, the typical layouts that we use in Japanese market. Here is a poster about how or how not to behave inside Japanese train. The problematic guys here has blonde hair, which I'm not a fan of. I don't know who designed this poster, but it's not appropriate in this the situation that we're living in today. However, if you want to look for the information, or you want how to search on the web, usually people don't know how to if we're not Japanese, but Japanese people, they're going to look for this box here. There's a search bar with the exact keyword that you need to input in order to search for the relevant information. I believe this practice is dated way back into the 2000s, where a lot of Asian people, consumer, when we use the flip phone, the Samsung Motorola flip phone, and this is very similar to the browsers back in the days. Yahoo Japan is actually still a popular search engine even now in Japan. So this is some fun fact. And now we're back in Sweden. This is Spotify. I believe Spotify has a beautiful design language, and their design system, I believe, is very well taken care of. So last year, 2020 June, they introduced their improved design principles, and one of the principles is unified. From the website set, everything we design looks and feel Spotify, and we aim for coherence across products. We start by reusing rather than reinventing. Reusing is a tricky keyword here. We want our experiences to reuse and adapt for consistency. Nobody should be reinventing the wheel. 2016, 17, when Spotify first arrived in Japan, and this was one of the first poster that I have seen from Spotify in Tokyo, Konnichiwa Japan. I think it's beautiful. Like, sometimes you don't need to use Japanese text to communicate with Japanese users. So I love this design. But however, the website started to have some like weird communication designs. Like, for example, the text here, the text, if standing alone, it doesn't have any meaning. And there's some incorrect way of spacing between special characters here. And there's different kinds of fonts all over the place here, bold font and really thin font. And the text here, I believe in several browsers like Internet Explorer or Safari, these texts are gonna be almost unreadable. This is a lot for me to talk about, but like when you localize into your product into different markets, it's important to localize the visual language as well, together with the language itself. And in the eyes of customer in Europe or in this region, Nordic region, some of the Asian designs like Chinese, Korean design, Japanese design can be seen as bad and clustered and not pleasing on the eyes.